We see Seoul amidst street chaos. Korea is engulfed in despair, with signs reading "virus" and flames rising in protest. Seizing the moment, the Social Responsibility Foundation announces a press conference. Jung-si pledges to revitalize Korea, introducing a new system where the entire nation will participate as jurors. In other words, court cases will be televised. Additionally, he introduces a stern judge, Johan, tasked with issuing sentences and overseeing national reform. Johan appears determined to wield his newfound power. Concerns arise within the Supreme Court, particularly from Young-jo, who is apprehensive about Johan's unconventional methods. He assigns Ga-on to monitor Johan, essentially acting as his internal informant. After a tense meeting, Ga-on finds more success with Jin-ju, who decides to leverage her charm to win public favor, knowing that the trial will be broadcast. Later, outside the courthouse, the drama unfolds as a speeding bus heads toward the Supreme Court and a group of schoolchildren. One child falls, prompting Ga-on to rush in to help. Meanwhile, Johan takes drastic action, firing at the bus driver, causing the vehicle to spiral out of control and explode. It's revealed that the incident was a protest against Chairman Ju Il-do, who has been accused of discharging toxic wastewater. As the case is set to go to court, Chairman Ju is prepared to plead not guilty. Even if found guilty, the maximum sentence is only 5 years. As the trial begins, Johan makes a dramatic entrance in his robes, which include a vestment. The nation watches as the trial unfolds, marked by heated exchanges. Johan calls for a recess, and upon resumption, Dr. Yu, an expert on metal poisoning, takes the stand. Dr. Yu's reaction, spitting out the water, hints at a guilty conscience. The next witness, Dr. Safety, proves more critical. Under intense scrutiny, Juik admits to professional negligence, acknowledging the leak's severity and resulting deaths. Johan's decision is dramatic. Citing a bill passed a year prior, he imposes a cumulative sentence based on the victims' numbers. In a reality TV-style conclusion, Chairman Ju's presentation of the victim's plight leads to a staggering 235-year sentence. Chairman Ju will spend the rest of his life in prison. During a dinner with Johan and Jin-ju, Ga-on confronts Johan, accusing him of being a pampered prince. Johan reveals his father was a loan shark, touching on Ga-on's own history with debt. The tension escalates and Ga-on storms off. At the Social Responsibility Foundation, Kyung-hee is concerned about Johan's motives, fearing he might outmaneuver them. Chairman Seo is unconcerned, while Suna is more focused on her rising approval ratings. The following day, Ga-on records Johan discussing justice and the trial, which he and Soo-hyun suspect involves tampering with Dr. Safety's testimony. Their investigation is interrupted when Young-hoon drives recklessly again, leading to a high-speed chase with Johan. Johan stops Young-hoon and destroys his car with a sledgehammer, leaving him a public transportation card. Young-hoon, a CEO, continues his abusive behavior towards his employees and a waiter, which Johan can't ignore. Johan follows Young-hoon, demanding to know where his public transportation card is. Soo-hyun and Ga-on investigate Johan's past, discovering he was ostracized and bullied as a child, which influenced his later actions. Ga-on visits Johan's childhood church and learns about his troubled upbringing and his revenge against his bullies by turning children from different neighborhoods against each other. Back at Johan's office, Ga-on finds that the bug he planted is missing. Johan confronts him, revealing the bug and a hidden bomb. As the bomb explodes, Johan and Ga-on narrowly escape, with Johan carrying Ga-on to safety. Ga-on wakes up at Johan's mansion after narrowly escaping the bomb blast. As he recovers, he's introduced to Elijah, a wheelchair-bound girl who expresses her dislike for him. Ga-on is informed that Johan has hired a substitute judge in Sok for the upcoming court case. Detective Soo-hyun begins her investigation into the bombing and interviews a furniture supplier. The supplier refuses to cooperate, prompting Johann to take matters into his own hands and choke the owner into revealing that someone from the Foundation was behind the blast. At the Social Responsibility Foundation, the president is unhappy, and Sun-ah, who has a history of poverty, appears to be orchestrating a coup. Sun-ah's disdain for the president and the wealthy becomes evident. Gaon overhears a mansion worker mentioning that the house doesn't belong to him, leading him to investigate further. He discovers that Johann's older brother Isaac is the mansion's true owner, and that Johann was taken in as an abandoned child. Isaac, who lost his mother early on, had a strained relationship with Johann and a twisted desire to see him fail. The trial for Lee Young-min begins, with Johann making a dramatic appeal to the public for Gaon's recovery. Young-min's defense seems strong until witness Kim Sung-hoon declares he doesn't want Young-min punished. Johann turns the focus to the public, who overwhelmingly demand Young-min's arrest. Johann's grandstanding continues as he broadcasts his face and encourages public input. In the mansion, Gaon discovers Johann's personal connection to Isaac, revealing the complexity of Johann's past. He learns that Isaac has been a negative influence and fears Johann will surpass him. The episode concludes with Johann tracking a man across rooftops. The man turns out to be connected to Isaac's death in a fire, and as Johann chases him, the man falls to his death. TV presenters celebrate Johann's successful trial, and Jinju gets a congratulatory nod from the team. Young-min, the trial's focus, is left reeling and uncertain about his upcoming case. Kyung-hee confronts Johann, who offers a deal. He'll spare her son if she confesses to her involvement in a crooked case from 19 years ago. With no support from the Social Responsibility Foundation, Kyung-hee is left isolated. At Johann's mansion, Elijah notices Gaon's interest in family photos and discusses Johann's hidden nature, comparing him to a predatory cat. This perception troubles Gaon, especially when he attends a high-profile function hosted by the Social Responsibility Foundation. At the event, Gaon meets Sun-ah and other influential figures. Kyung-hee, under pressure from the chaotic crowds and her son's court situation, holds an emergency press conference to confess her past crimes. This sets the stage for Young-min's second trial, where his defense introduces his child psychology reports. Johann, however, opts for a controversial punishment: flagellation. The public votes overwhelmingly in favor, and the brutal punishment is broadcast nationwide. Kyung-hee is forced to authorize this punishment as the Minister of Justice. The scene is harrowing, drawing mixed reactions from the public. Johann is plagued by a nightmare featuring flames and Isaac standing over him. Johann's disdain for Gaon, who resembles Isaac, is evident. Despite this, he begrudgingly reinstates Gaon to the bench. Kyung-hee's TV interview, where she defends the flogging as just, backfires when her emotional struggle becomes apparent. The public's opinion begins to shift against her. Johann, learning of Kyung-hee's troubles, turns his attention to the Dream House project, determined to strike a blow against the Foundation. In the latest court case, Seok-hoon, a celebrity accused of sexually abusing girls, faces a proposed sentence of 20 years in prison and physical castration, which the courtroom applauds. The court resumes with continued arguments. Jinju's personal testimony disrupts the prosecution's strategy. Johann ultimately sentences Seok-hoon to 20 years in prison, but rejects the castration. This sequence turns out to be a fake-out dream. The real verdict involves sending Seok-hoon into a Texas facility specializing in rehabilitating sex offenders, a decision that catches the Foundation off guard. That evening, Johann receives a note directing him to the docks. When he arrives, he is knocked out by the motorbike rider. He wakes up chained to a chair, where Sun-ah confronts him, calls him pretty, and kisses him. Johann remains unmoved and stunned. Gaon at the mansion is awoken by Elijah, who is concerned about Johan's unusual absence. Suna tries to persuade Johan not to target the Foundation. She uses an injection to knock him out and arranges for Jae-hee, the woman from the motorcycle, to return him to the mansion. Ga-on's encounter with Jae-hee turns into a chase, only for Suna to intervene and rescue Jae-hee, hiding her from view to prevent Ga-on from discovering the truth. Soo-hyun continues her investigation into Dr. Safety, connecting him to suspicious payments that suggest Johan's involvement. Jae-hee, while photographing Soo-hyun, is attacked and knocked out by an unknown assailant. Kyung-hee seizes the opportunity to call a press conference, alleging that the money tied to Dr. Safety and Johan indicates corruption. Ga-on confronts Johan at home, accusing him of targeting Soo-hyun, but Johan denies the accusation. Facing mounting pressure, Johan is forced to resign. On air, Dr. Safety clarifies that the money was only wired to him post-case, presenting himself more sympathetically. Johan then turns to the public for a vote on his innocence, which results in overwhelming support of 92.6% in favor. With his position reaffirmed, Johan focuses on the Dreamhouse project, exposing the corrupt practices of its key members. The Foundation, now publicly scrutinized, is left scrambling to respond to the revelations. Johan launches a full-scale attack on the Social Foundation, igniting chaos within their ranks. Ga-on confronts Johan about his actions, particularly the alleged kidnapping and coercion of Ki-young. Johan dismisses his accusations, urging him not to jump to conclusions. Ga-on and Johan agree to work together, planning to divide and destabilize the Social Foundation. Johan visits Minbo Group and waits for the chairman to contact him, using the opportunity to gather information about the Foundation's inner workings and financial secrets. In a strategic move, Johan livestreams a meeting with the president, exposing his dubious intentions regarding corruption investigations. This leads to a courtroom showdown where Chairman Park and Min are accused of financial misconduct, including embezzling over 64 million in donations. The Social Foundation scrambles to respond. Mr. Seo, their trump card, advises that Suna be framed for the corruption. In a dramatic turn, Suna kills Seo during their meeting, and he whispers that he'll die an honorable death. Suna is now the new boardwoman. Johan, on the other hand, takes Ga-on to visit the prison, only to reveal that the man imprisoned for his parents' deaths isn't actually Young Chun. Suna visits Johan at his office, revealing her role in leading the Live Court's operational support, and wearing a cross necklace as a deceptive symbol of her piety. Johan sees through her facade and confronts her aggressively, discovering a needle hidden in her necklace. Ga-on intervenes, leading to a tense confrontation. Kyung-hee, sensing she's being sidelined, investigates Suna, uncovering the depths of her manipulation. Meanwhile, public unrest grows as gangs attack foreigners and homeless individuals. Suna attempts to intervene, but is set up by a cameraman who films her actions, further damaging her image. Ga-on chooses to ally with Johan, deciding that if this is all a game, he prefers to be on the winning side. Ga-on aligned himself with Johan in the battle against the Social Foundation's corruption. Soo-hyun, trying to stop a gang from rampaging, is framed as the aggressor due to doctored footage. Johan arrives enraged and nearly strangles the gang leader Juk Chang before Soo-hyun intervenes with a gun. The situation is recorded by the gang, adding potential complications. The corruption issue deepens as Jukang TV staff are released by orders from the police commissioner. Suna, now the board chairman, feels lonely and contemplates inviting models or acquaintances to fill the void. Meanwhile, Kyung-hee is frustrated by President Hyo's ineffectiveness and realizes that Seo is merely a pawn for Suna. Johan uses his connections to investigate Suna's past and anonymously leaks the information to Kyung-hee, aiming to shift the balance in their favor. Ga-on and Elijah enjoy a peaceful evening with a meal and some downtime, but Johan decides it's time to confront Young Chun. They locate Young Chun on a farm, living happily with his family. Johan, intent on using Young Chun to target Kyung-hee, persuades Ga-on to remain calm. Ga-on spends the day off with Soo-hyun, who responds to his hypothetical question about wrongdoing with a firm commitment to uphold justice. That evening, Ga-on confronts Young Chun, who feigns remorse. Johan exposes Young Chun's hidden money and burns it along with his workshop. Despite the loss, Young Chun's family witnesses his greed and leaves him. As it turns out, the real money isn't actually burned and is distributed to Young Chun's victims. Ga-on returns it selflessly, finding satisfaction in his noble actions. Ga-on and Johan regroup at the mansion after dealing with Young Chun. With one enemy down, their focus shifts to the broader fight against the Foundation. The Foundation's latest scheme, a reality show called Clean Korea, highlights their disdain for the less fortunate and their indifference to the violence affecting foreigners. And YouTube commentators, led by Jukchang, endorsed the violence, making him a prime target for Johan and Ga-on. They plan to bring him to a live trial, leveraging Soo-hyun's integrity and commitment as their key advantage. Elijah's hacking skills help locate Jukchang's hideout, leading Soo-hyun and Ga-on to investigate. They manage to capture photos and gain entry to a real estate building linked to Jukchang. Meanwhile, Johan, now at Jukchang's hideout, engages in a violent confrontation with Jukchang's thugs. Soo-hyun intervenes, apprehending Jukchang with a decisive kick. As President Hayo continues to make inflammatory statements, the live trial against Jukchang commences behind closed doors. That evening, Kyung-hee's visit to Suna escalates into a heated exchange. Kyung-hee accuses Suna of being a lowlife and reminds her of her past as a servant. Infuriated, Suna vows to seek revenge against Johan. Kyung-hee has uncovered that Suna's mother's death was not an accident, but a result of Suna's actions. She coerces Suna into capturing Johan and clearing her son's name, giving her a tight deadline of 1 week. Suna, now under pressure, is invited to dinner at Johan's mansion. During the dinner, Elijah questions Suna about her relationship with Johan, but she dispels any romantic rumors. The next day, Chairman Park summoned Jin-jo, requesting her to represent the Foundation at public press conferences. Jin-ju, aware of the leverage they have over her due to her past court arrest, questions whether Johan had faced similar challenges. The Foundation's dismissive response confirms her suspicions, prompting Jin-ju to consider joining Johan's cause. Back at the mansion, Johan shows a rare moment of relaxation by playing Jenga with Elijah. With the power dynamic shifting, Johan presents Young Chun during a dramatic court scene, leading to political chaos. Kyung-hee, desperate, requests a private meeting with Johan and brings a pistol with her. In their private meeting, Kyung-hee confronts Johan, who demands confidential files detailing the Foundation's corruption and the cause of the street riots. Johan's manipulation continues as he presents Kyung-hee with 12 lawsuits related to her blackmail and illicit tactics. The Foundation exploits Young Min's drug addiction to further pressure Kyung-hee. However, Kyung-hee, feeling cornered and overwhelmed, makes a tragic decision. She takes her own life in the courtroom, leaving Johan and Ga-on in shock. Soo-hyun arrives, witnessing the aftermath and discovering Ga-on and Johan together. As Soo-hyun is shaken by Kyung-hee's death, she witnesses Ga-on standing over the body. Johan remains composed and convinces Soo-hyun that Kyung-hee took her own life and they had no involvement. Soo-hyun, struggling with the situation, keeps her own suspicions to herself. Back at the mansion, Johan urges Ga-on to shift focus away from Kyung-hee's death and on to the next plan. It's revealed that Kyung-hee's hidden file was in her cigar. Soo-hyun's frustration peaks as she confronts Ga-on outside the police station, angry over his involvement and feeling betrayed. She later lashes out at Johan in the parking lot, warning him that Ga-on is on a dark path. Johan, unmoved, drives away, leaving Soo-hyun distraught. Upon returning to the mansion, Johan finds a drunken and enraged Ga-on waiting for him. Ga-on refuses to sever ties with Soo-hyun, leading to a heated argument. Ga-on decides to leave the mansion, packing his belongings and distancing himself from Johan. Elijah is hurt by Johan's attitude and confronts him, only to be dismissed. She retreats, leaving a painting of Ga-on behind. The Foundation plots a new scheme to create a crisis that will derail the presidential elections and solidify their power. Sun-ah, though initially resistant, later complies with the plan. Jung-ho visits Johan, voicing concerns about Ga-on's dangerous path. Though Johan dismisses Jung-ho's worries, he feels the absence of Ga-on keenly and cherishes the food Ga-on prepares. Soo-hyun, determined to uncover the truth, investigates the church for answers about the past. Meanwhile, Young-ho's call to dissolve the court trial incites public rebellion. He is attacked and hospitalized, prompting Ga-on to rush to his side. The Foundation uses this chaos to question Yohan's influence, blaming the violence on his crazy fans. Sun-ah invites Yohan out under the pretense of a date, but instead threatens him. She holds Kei at gunpoint, and despite Yohan's efforts to save him, Kei is shot and left to die. Sun-ah drops Kei from the roof, causing his death. Yohan vows to take revenge on Sun-ah. Yohan is in anguish over Kei's death, screaming into the night while Sun-ah revels in her victory. Desperate, Yohan calls Soo-hyun for help but collapses from his injuries before he can receive any assistance. Upon returning home, Yohan is devastated to find Sun-ah sitting at the table with Elijah. Ga-on and Soo-hyun share an intimate moment. President Hyo's press conference causes nationwide chaos, imposing a 10 p.m. curfew and severe penalties for emergency rescue attempts. Ga-on, knowing the curfew is a ploy, tries to convince Judge Ju of the truth, but she dismisses him. Driven by frustration, Ga-on leaves. Yohan confronts Hyo, begging him to halt the crisis. Hyo dismisses Yohan, revealing that their shared background means they are both products of the same corrupt system. He proposes an emergency court session to address the pandemic, with Jinju as the judge, and an inauguration where Yohan must transfer his authority to her. Though displeased, Yohan agrees to the terms. Soo-hyun continues her investigation, visiting Young Joseph, while the judges, now united, prepare to confront the Foundation. Yohan orchestrates a livestream to expose the truth about the Foundation's actions. Despite the broadcast being cut off, the app remains active, and the people of the slums unite, using their phone lights as symbols of hope against the darkness. Tragically, Soo-hyun arrives at the scene only to be shot dead. She declares her love for Ga-on before she dies. Soo-hyun's somber funeral transitions into a montage of Ga-on and Soo-hyun's pivotal moments together, culminating at her grave. Ga-on, devastated, is driven to find the gunman responsible for her death, but Yohan and Elijah persuade him to hold off. They argue that seeking revenge now would only undermine Soo-hyun's sacrifice. With Juk-chang in custody, Ga-on focuses on legal strategies to bring down the Foundation. Hyo, under Sun-ah's influence, apologizes publicly, trying to regain favor with the people. Yohan and Ga-on prepare their counterattack, meeting with a doctor who reveals that no scientific evidence supports the virus theory and that the deaths were due to malnutrition, a fact the Foundation is covering up. Chief Justice Young-ho resigns and reveals to Ga-on that Soo-hyun was investigating the church fire and suspected foul play. Jung-ho discloses that Young Joseph, a person Soo-hyun encountered before her death, was involved in managing the CCTV footage from that night. He believes Soo-hyun was killed due to her findings. Jung-ho interrupts to accuse Yohan of bias in his evidence. Yohan announces he'll address the matter further in a separate statement. President Hyo, reveling in his manipulations, admits to planning to increase Juk-chang's execution voltage and orchestrating Young-ho's attack, framing it as Yohan's work. Ga-on, reflecting on his experiences with Yohan, decides to confront him. Their argument is heated, with Ga-on calling Yohan a devil and monster for his perceived lack of hesitation. That night, Jung-ho informs Ga-on that he suspects Yohan's involvement in Soo-hyun's death. Meanwhile, the Foundation convenes, with Sun-ah asserting dominance over Hyo, who is revealed as a mere puppet. Sun-ah's coup repositions her as the driving force, and she dismisses Hyo's revolutionary plans as unprofitable. Jung-ho gives Ga-on Soo-hyun's notebook, and Ga-on finds himself at Jung Joseph's location. Ga-on's investigation leads him to Soo-hyun's killer, who has Yohan's number in his call history. Convinced of Yohan's guilt, Ga-on confronts him at the mansion, knife in hand. Before things can escalate, Jung-ho and the detectives arrest Yohan. Sun-ah arrives, revealing her collaboration with Young-ho and exposing that she tortured Joseph for information. A distraught Ga-on confides in Elijah, apologizing for being duped and pledging to rectify the situation, even if it means sacrificing himself. He tries to get arrested by admitting to evidence tampering, but the press is muzzled by the national emergency. Yohan is imprisoned without a warrant. Jung-ho admits to being used by Sun-ah and reveals he knew about Soo-hyun's death but played along to manipulate Ga-on. He confesses he was tasked with discrediting Johan. Suna grows suspicious of the Foundation's activities and sends her lackey to investigate the Dream Home Medical Center. Ga-on leaves a note for Elijah, explaining the church fire's cause and defending Johan. He discovers the grim reality at Dream Homes and escapes with the help of sympathetic workers, possibly recording evidence. A news report falsely claims Ga-on has been killed in prison. Suna is rattled, but the Foundation decides to celebrate his alleged death. As the courtroom descends into chaos, Suna kills President Heo and then herself. Johan narrowly escapes the explosion, which was part of his plan to eliminate the Foundation. Ga-on, believing Johan is dead, finds blueprints left by Johan that reveal his escape plan, while Ga-on addresses the public about Johan's actions, acknowledging his flaws but defending his intentions. Johan, now a reformed man, nods in approval from outside the courtroom, leaving Ga-on to lead efforts to reform the justice system. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.